Hosea Mashiach Umagen. Melech Hosea Mashiach Umagen. Baruch atah Adonai, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham. Baruch atah Adonai, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham. King, Redeemer, Savior, and Shield. King, Redeemer, Savior, and Shield. Blessed art thou, blessed art thou, Shield of Abraham. Blessed art thou, blessed art thou, Shield of Abraham. You are the mighty one forever, O Lord. You are the mighty one forever, O Lord. 'Cause you raise the dead, sleeping in their graves. You are mighty to save. You raise the dead, sleeping in their graves. You are mighty to save. Melech Hosea Mashiach Umagen. Melech Hosea Mashiach Umagen. Baruch atah Adonai, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham. Baruch atah Adonai, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham. Oh yeah. Yes, we're calling them in. The louder we sing, the more people start coming. Start on time like this all the time. We'll get the message. I remember when we added "This Is the Day" to this song. This is something that Art worked out with us, and it was kind of fun to put that in there because it seems just like a natural fit. And someday, I'm going to hope that you'll be praying to come back up here and join me, man. Too late to tune. I will enter his gates with thanksgiving in my heart. I will enter his courts with praise. I will say, this is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice, for he has made me glad. I will rejoice, for he has made me glad. He has made me glad. He has made me glad. I will rejoice, for he has made me glad. He has made me glad. He has made me glad. I will rejoice, for he has made me glad. I will rejoice, for he has made me glad. This is the day. This is the day that the Lord has made. That the Lord has made. I will rejoice. I will rejoice and be glad in it. And be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will enter his gates with thanksgiving in my heart. I will enter his courts with praise. I will say, this is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice, for he has made me glad. I will rejoice, for he has made me glad. Did I end that at the right place? It always seems like we keep going forever on that.
Yeah.
Just recycling over and over. Someday we will. Someday we will. Not tonight. A little later.
Do you remember Gary?
Hi guys. Okay, as the mountains. This is where it comes down to more contemplative. I learned that word from Jamie Clark. Contemplative. He was a radio guy. Put me on the Christian radio station because we were doing contemplative music, which included all of those kinds of songs. But this is now a little bit more mellow. as the mountains are around Jerusalem. The Lord is all around his people. From this time forth and forevermore, the Lord is all around his people. From this time forth and forevermore, the Lord is all around his people. Like Mount Zion in the midst of Jerusalem, we shall not be moved, we shall not be moved. Like Mount Zion in the midst of Jerusalem, we shall not be moved, we shall not be moved. From this time forth and forevermore, the Lord is all around his people. From this time forth it shall always be, the Lord is all around his people. Just one more. Chosen people and defend Israel, for he will redeem his people. Sing hallelujah, sing hallelujah. Unto Abraham's land he will draw them, as a shepherd gathers his sheep. He will bring them back into Israel. Sing hallelujah, 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 sing hallelujah. Great. Shabbat shalom, everyone. It's good to see you all here. So, is that your time to put a new hat on, Connie?
Yep, it's me.
Connie will be putting on the appropriate announcement hat.
All right. Really appreciate appreciate John having us light there, that's good. All right, we have a few announcements. Shabbat morning services are the second and fourth Saturday of each month, and since we got right started with the first of the last Saturday was the first, we're all the way up to the second Saturday tomorrow morning. All that to say is, there is a Saturday morning service tomorrow beginning at 11 o'clock, and the next one is February 22nd. Sometimes people want to help and they're not quite sure what to do and how to fill in. So we decided to make a list so that we would be ready when somebody said, how can I help? So where it says great opportunities, you can read that there, and if one of those things seems to be your thing, and you'd be willing to help with that, let us know. By us, I guess it would be Rabbi or Matt or me. Just tell somebody. The seminary classes are underway, and there's information there about them. It's not too late. Historical Geography meeting again this Tuesday, and Messianic Apologetics meeting on Thursday, with Rabbi Patrice on Tuesday and Rabbi John on Thursday. We have a special announcement with some financial updates. That's this coral color one here. We've been waiting to get in a proposal on some of the repair things that we need to have done, and that came in this week. And that wasn't as much as I thought it was going to be, and that's good. That's the good news. And the bad news is we don't have that much money. We felt like the best thing to do was to make everyone in the family aware of what the need is. The great news is we're here tonight, and all the bills are paid, and on we go. It's the way it's been for 36 years. Not a moment or a penny too soon. All right, those are the major announcements that we have. We have some of the usual things. We thank you to everyone who takes part in making this service go, for our greeters and our people that run the soundboard, and for our musicians, and for our TV streaming people, and ONEG people. There's just a lot of people that come and participate and help us frame an evening of worship. So thank you for being here, and on we go.
In case you're wondering what's going on, as some of you are aware, this doesn't need to go in. As some of you are aware, often we'll do a sort of a more musical service with Jake and with Gary, and that was our plan for tonight.
Your
But
mic isn't on.
I took it off intentionally. Jacob, well, if you talk to him tonight, you will find that his voice is not there.
Oh, no.
So in his kindness, Richard has stepped in, but I guess we did not communicate with Gary that Jacob is not in full voice.
Wandering in circles.
Gary, I'll be happy to introduce you to your son later.
I talked to him in the parking lot. He was trying to get well.
Yeah.
It didn't work out.
All right. Now that we've settled that, we'll begin our worship together as planned, if not in the same way as planned, with Legato D. Sometimes we forget, so to speak, that Shabbat is truly, truly special. Sometimes we do that around holiday time when we've got other special days that we celebrate. But Shabbat is truly special. So special that there is a traditional introduction for Shabbat, and that is, among others, Lechad Odi. And in Lechad Odi, we're reminded of two important things, among others, and that is, number one, Shabbat is very much like a queen. That's how precious she should be in our sight. And second, that queen will eventually, in a sense, have full reign in the Messianic age, when it will be Shabbat forever. So as we anticipate that, and as we welcome this precious day called Shabbat, we rise. We face the doors as if we are literally, and we are literally, welcoming Shabbat as the wonderful queen that we get to celebrate with. Pages 14 to 25.
Lecharudi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nakabela. 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 Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Ishmianu el hamyuchad. Adonai echad u'shamo echad, L'shem multiferet v'litila. Lechad odi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lechad odi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lekrat Shabbat lechu b'nelcha, Hi makor habracha. Merosh mikedem nesucha, Sof maaseh b'machshavat tila. Lechad odi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lechad odi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabela. It na'ari me'afar kumi, Ifshi bigdei tifartecha mi. Al yad ben Yishai beit halakmi, Karva el nafshe ga'ala. Lechad odi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lechad odi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Itorari, Kiva orech kumi ori. Uri, shir deberi, Kavod Adonai alayich nigla. Lechad odi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lechad odi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Boiv בשלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה וצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי, לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה. Come, my friend, meet the bride. Let's welcome the presence of the Sabbath. Observe and remember. In a single statement, unique God caused us to hear his command. He alone is Lord, and his name is unique to his fame and splendor and praise. Come, my friend, meet the bride. Let's welcome the presence of the Sabbath. Let's go to meet the Sabbath, for she is the source of blessing from the beginning, anointed from ancient days, though made last, conceived first. Come, my friend, meet the bride. Let's welcome the presence of the Sabbath. Shake the dust off yourself. Arise, dress in garments of glory, my people. Jesse's son, the Bethlehemite, draws near, bringing us redemption. Come, my friend, meet the bride. Let's welcome the presence of the Sabbath. Wake up, your light is come. Arise, shine, awake, awake. Sing a grand song. The glory of God is revealed to you. Come, my friend, meet the bride. Let's welcome the presence of the Sabbath. Come in peace, crown of your Lord. Come with joy and with cheer. Come to the faithful among the chosen people. Come, bride, come. Come, my friend, meet the bride. Let's welcome the presence of the Sabbath.
You may be seated. Wake up, your light is come. With that encouragement, we are now ready to light the Shabbat lights. And it's a reminder as you listen to both parts of the blessings over the candles that not only has Shabbat come, but the one who is Jesse's son, who has come, is yet again drawing near to bring us redemption.
Baruch Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Haolam Hashem Kiddushanu B'Tzefanu Tet B'Tzefanu Leorot Leogot Leotanu Leoni Yeshua Mitzakainu Haor Leolam. Blessed art thou, O Lord our God, ruler of the universe, who sanctified us by your commandments and commanded us to be a light of the nations and give us Yeshua our Messiah, the light of the world. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. And what we have focused on just there, we're reminded is in fact an answer to the prayers of our people as we've prayed them down through the ages in synagogues around the world. Utilizing those prayers, our Tehillat Abrit Kadashah portion reminds us of the response we now extend by way of gratefulness and by way of praise. Pages 136, 137, the bottom of those pages, is our response. The response begins, Baruch Adonai Elohei Yisrael, ki pekad et amo vayishlach lo pedut, vayarem lanu keren Yeshua b'beit David. Avdo. Together.
Praise be to the Lord, the God of Israel, because he has come and has redeemed his people. He has raised up a horn of salvation for us in the house of his servant David, as he said through his holy prophets of long ago, salvation from our enemies and from the hand of all who hate us, to show mercy to our fathers, and to remember his holy covenant, the oath he swore to our father Abraham, to rescue us from the hand of our enemies, and to enable us to serve him without fear, in holiness and righteousness before him, all our days.
He has in fact raised up the horn of salvation. The horn of salvation in the house of his servant David is the one who now sits enthroned, anticipating the time that he will once more return and in fact sit on the throne of God's servant David. We enter that throne room scene right now as we join on pages 40 and 41 for Elohim Asher.
Elohim asher diber, mikerem ve'amim rabot, u'bidrachim rabot el havot, beyad ha'nevi'im, diber aleinu be'acharit, hayamim ha'ele, beyad ha'ben asher. Sam le'yoresh kol, u'yado, yamasa et ha'olamim, u'zohar kevodo, b'tselem atzmuto, v'nosei kol bidvaro, Hagavora, Olachah she'asa, tihur chatayim, yashav limin, hallelujah. In the past, God spoke to our fathers through the prophets at many times in various ways. But now, in the end of days, he has spoken to us by the Messiah, his Son, whom he appointed the heir of all things, and through whom he made the universe. The Son is the full radiance of God's glory, and the flawless manifestation of his reality. He sustains all things by his powerful word. After he made atonement for sins, he sat down in the place of authority, beside the majesty in heaven. True and firm, established and lasting, right and faithful, loved and treasured, desired and pleasant, feared and mighty, ordered and acceptable, good and beautiful is this word to us forever and ever.
Our Tehillat HaBrit Chadashah portion reminded us that what God has done and what Yeshua is presently guaranteeing, sitting on one of those heavenly thrones, is to enable us to serve him without fear. We continue on that theme as we begin our Alida portions for this evening, as we rise and face Jerusalem, the direction of the Ark. There are the abridged and summary sections. And the first line of the abridged section asks that God will grant us the knowledge of his ways, and then asks that he would direct or shape or mold our hearts to his worship, to his service. It's a very important response, and it's an important request. And then we continue our praises to him for the amazing God that he is. Utilize these words as a way of responding to God at this particular moment. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, El Hagadol Hagabor V'Hanora, El Elyon Kanei Shemayim V'Aretz. Blessed are you, O Lord our God, God of our ancestors, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, God of Sarah, Rebekah, Rachel, and Leah. You are the great, the mighty, the revered God. You are the Most High God, who is master of heaven and of earth.
Magin avod bidvaro, mechayem etim b'mamaro, el hakadosh ein kamohu, המניח לעמו ביום שבת קדשו. אילם רצה להניח להם, לפניו נעבוד ביראה ופחד, ונודה לשמו בכל יום. תמיד מעין הברכות אל ההודעות אדון השלום, מקדש השבת ומברך שביעי, ומניח בי קדושה לעמד יושני עונג. זכר למעשה בראשית. זכר למעשה בראשית. And together.
He with his word was a shield to our forefathers, and by his voice will raise the dead. The holy God, like whom there is none, who gives rest to his people on his holy Sabbath day, because he delights in them to grant them rest. Before his presence we will serve with fear and awe. Daily and constantly we will thank him with the appropriate praises. He is the God to whom thanksgiving is due, the Lord of peace, who hallows the Sabbath and blesses the seventh day, and in holiness gives rest to a people filled with delights in remembrance of the creation.
Our God and God of our ancestors, so accept our rest. Hallow us by your commandments. Grant our portion in your Torah. Satisfy us with your goodness. Gladden us with your salvation. Purify our hearts to serve you truthfully. And in your love and favor, O Lord our God, let us inherit your holy Sabbath. And may Israel, who sanctify your name, rest thereon. Blessed are you, O Lord. You're the one who makes Shabbat special. You may be seated. We continue on that theme of praising our God for all that he's done and for all that he is, as we respond on pages 4 to 7 with Ohr Chadash.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמך רבה. ועמדי ברכירותה וימליך מלכותה, בחיי וביומך ובחיי כל בית ישראל, בהגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמך רבה מבורך, לעולם עולם לעולמי יתברך. יתברך וישתבח, פער ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתהלל ויתהלל, שמי לקודשה בריחו. לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן בעולמה, ואמרו אמן. Let his name be glorified and sanctified throughout the universe which he created according to his purpose. May he bring about the reign of his kingdom in your lifetime, in your days, and in the lifetime of all of the house of Israel, speedily, soon, and let all say,
Amen.
let his great name be praised forever and ever, eternally, blessed and praised, glorified and exalted, extolled and honored, magnified and lauded be the name of the Holy One. Blessed be he. Although he is far greater than all blessings, hymns, praises, and songs which are offered in the world. And all say,
Amen.
Truly he is far greater than all the blessings, hymns, praises that we can offer to him. And in fact, in a sense, we're reminded of that as we turn to pages 44 and 45 and join in some praises nevertheless in a very important song that was sung at the sea. It is part of the Parsha for this week, so it's appropriate that it becomes our response as well this evening. The text begins, "So praise our exalted God. Blessed is he who is to be blessed." Moses and the people of Israel sang a song to you with great joy, and we join in that song with the same great joy as now we all say,
Who is like you, O Lord, among the gods? Who is like you, glorious in holiness, awesome in praises, doing wonders? Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osefele. Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osefele.
"Who is like you, O Lord, among the gods?" is the question that we asked. In effect, it's not a question, it is a statement. But that statement is emphasized and reinforced in the response as we rise to respond. That means you get on your feet. Thank you. And we respond on pages 88 and 89 with Ein Kamoka. Truly, there is none like you, O Lord, among the gods.
Ein kamocha b'Elohim Adonai, ve'ein kama'asecha. Malchut kamalchut kol olamim, umemshalcha bechol dor, bechol dor bador. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai melech le'olam moed, Adonai oz le'amo yitein, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. And together, there is none like you among the gods, my Lord, and there is nothing that compares to your deeds. Your kingdom is a kingdom that endures for all eternity, and your sovereignty extends throughout all generations. The Lord reigns, the Lord has reigned, the Lord shall reign throughout eternity. The Lord will bless his people with peace.
As you followed along, you saw there was a whole lot of terms for king, for kingdom, for sovereignty. And now we personalize all that as we say to our God, as we now once again face Jerusalem. We say, you are my king. That's the purpose of the Shema, pages 34 to 39.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem, Kevod Malachuto, Le'olam גללך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אלוהים מצווך היום עליך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברתם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשכבך ובגומך ושרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בעיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord alone. Blessed be he whose glorious kingdom is eternal. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your life, and with all your strength. These commandments that I give you today are to be on your hearts. Impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home and when you walk along the road, when you lie down and when you get up. Tie them as reminders on your hands and bind them on your foreheads. Write them on the doorframes of your houses and on your gates.
What we have just expressed and affirmed and said we will follow through on will in fact be the pattern for all at the time of Vayi Ben Soa, pages 88 and 89, when the Torah will go forth from Jerusalem and the word of the Lord from Mount Zion. And all will acknowledge him as their king and pay attention to the words he's given to us all.
ויהי בנשוא אהרון ויאמר משה קום אדוני ויפוצו אבק וינוסו משנאיך מפניך כי מציון תצא תורה כי מציון תצא תורה ודבר אדוני בירושלים ברוך שנתן תורה ברוך שנתן תורה לעמו ישראל בקדושתו. And it came to pass, whenever the ark went forward, Moses would say, Arise, O Lord, and let your enemies be scattered. May those who hate you flee from before you. For from Zion shall go forth the Torah, and the word of the Lord out of Jerusalem. Blessed be he who in holiness gave the Torah to his people Israel.
And now his people Israel respond to that gift of the Torah, and we respond on page 133 plus the insert, and we invite those who have joined with us as part of the extended family of God to join with us as well in responding on those pages.
The ark now unveils its treasure.
To our eyes and minds and hearts.
Inside, the scroll of Torah stands.
It stands there with all its richness and wisdom.
As we listen, voices speak, voices of our ancestors.
Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Joseph, and Moses.
O God, they bring us your instructions for us.
Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, and Miriam speak to us as well.
O God, they move us to respond to your promises to us.
We are grateful for your words,
the words of Torah.
Hear, O Israel, the Lord calls.
We will hear your words that we may learn them, love them, live them.
What does the Lord require of you? To fear him, love him, serve him, and walk in all his ways.
All the Lord has said, we will do.
The Torah of the Lord is perfect, restoring the soul. The teaching of the Lord is sure, making wise the simple.
The precepts of the Lord are right, rejoicing the heart. The commandment of the Lord is pure, enlightening the eyes.
Happy is the one that walks not in the counsel of the wicked, nor stands in the way of sinners, nor sits in the seat of the scornful.
But our delight is in the Torah of the Lord, and in his Torah we will meditate day and night.
We shall be like a tree planted by streams of waters, that brings forth its fruit in its season.
And whose leaf does not wither, and in whatever we do we shall prosper.
A new heart also will I give you, and a new spirit will I put within you.
For my ordinances which I command you are not too difficult for you, neither are they far off.
Do we make the Torah void through faith? Not at all. We establish Torah.
So then the Torah is holy, and the commandment is holy, just, and good.
That the righteous requirements of Torah might be fully met in us who do not live according to our evil inclinations, but according to the Ruach Hashem.
The day will come when my Torah will flow from Zion, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem.
Mi shebarach Avotenu, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. He who blessed our fathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. May he bless Rabbi John. May he bless Celia. May he bless Jenny. And may he bless John, who have come up to honor God and the Torah. May the Holy One bless them and their families, and send blessing and prosperity on all the work of their hands. Baruch hu et Adonai hamavorach.
Baruch atah hamorach ve'hamavayed.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen.
Bless the Lord who is blessed.
Bless the Lord who is blessed forever and ever.
Blessed are you, Lord our God, ruler of the universe, who chose us from all peoples and gave us the Torah. Blessed are you, Lord, giver of the Torah.
Those of you who've been here the last couple weeks know the new routine. Take out your bulletin. Find the first inside page, and as I chant, I invite you to read along with me. Is everybody ready? Vayhi Beshalach paro et ha'am velo nacham Elohim derek eretz Philistim ki ka bekirav hahu. Say that again. Ki karov ha'u. There we go. You may be seated. Interesting beginning. And so it happened that Pharaoh sent off the people. That term, Beshalach, is usually a term that is used by God himself. But because God had finally gotten through to Pharaoh, for the time being, as we'll discover later in the Parsha, he is now, in a sense, acting on God's behalf by sending off the people to begin their journey of liberation. Anyhow, but God did not, different word for send, God did not send them the way of the land of the Philistines, even though that was nearby, very nearby. The text goes on to tell us why. Because God saw that the people might end up being afraid of war and therefore be scared and return to Egypt. Interesting thought there. Oh, wait a second, let's finish. And so God sent the people along the way of the wilderness. I would love to spend a whole lot of time on this, but we don't have time for that. 2 points. Number one, God knows who we are. And so he responds to us where we're at and directs us in a way that's best for us. 2, notice that the way that was best for our people was the way of the wilderness. So this is not a bad thing that happens, it's a good thing that happens. The whole of that time in the wilderness was intended by God to be an important time. Oh, and a P.S. About 2 or 3 lines later, we're told that Moses took with him the bones of Joseph, as Joseph had requested, because Joseph understood what Moses was now about to deliver, that our people would end up in the land that God had promised. There is much more here, but that's not for tonight. I'll let you find it out in your readings over the weekend.
But the people of Israel walked on dry ground in the sea, with the water walled up front for them on their right and on their left. On that day, Adonai saved Israel from the Egyptians. Israel saw the Egyptians dead on the shore. When Israel saw the mighty deed that Adonai had performed against the Egyptians, the people feared Adonai. And they believed in Adonai and in his servant Moshe. Then Moshe and the people of Israel sang this song to Adonai. I will sing to Adonai, for he is highly exalted. The horse and its rider he threw in the sea. Yah is my strength and my song, and he has become my salvation. This is my God, I will glorify him. My father's God, I will exalt him. Adonai is a warrior, Adonai is his name.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech
Olam, asher natan lanu Torah tevet, v'chayei olam natav b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Blessed are you, Lord our God, ruler of the universe, who gave us the Torah of truth and life everlasting planted in our midst. Blessed are you, Lord, giver of the Torah.
As we reflected earlier, he gave to us the Torah. great gift. But more importantly, we are reminded now as we respond, not only was it a great gift, it was directly his words to us. Not just our ancestors, but to us now as well. Please rise in response as our ancestors did when they acknowledged that this was the word, or the words from God to them. We now acknowledge that these are the words from God to us. The Ohr Chadash is that acknowledgement. It's found on pages 98 and 99. Should you need a transliteration, that's page 95.
Bezot HaTorah Asher Sam Moshe Livnei Bnei Yisrael Al Pi Adonai Beyad Moshe. This is the Torah which Moses placed before the children of Israel. It is in accord with the Lord's command by the hand of Moses.
You may be seated.
After our blessings are found on pages 94 to 97.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'neviim tovim v'ratzah v'divreihem hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai הבוחר בתורה ובמשה עבדו ובישראל עמו ובנביאי האמת בצדק. Blessed are you, O Lord our God, ruler of the universe, who selected good prophets, delighting in their words which were spoken truthfully. Blessed are you, O Lord, who chose the Torah, your servant Moses, your people Israel, and the prophets of truth and righteousness.
When leaders in Israel dedicate themselves and the people volunteer, you should all bless Adonai. Hear, kings, listen, princes. I will sing to Adonai. I will sing praise to Adonai, the God of Israel. Adonai, when you went out from Seir, when you marched out from the field of Edom, the earth quaked and the sky shook. Yes, the clouds poured down torrents. The mountains melted at the presence of Adonai at Sinai, before Adonai, the God of Israel. In the days of Shamgar, the son of Anat, in the days of Yael, the main roads were deserted. Travelers walked the byways. The rulers ceased in Israel. They ceased until you arose, Deborah, arose a mother in Israel. They chose new gods when war was at the gates. Was there a shield or a spear to be seen among Israel's 40,000 men? My heart goes out to Israel's leaders and to those among the people who volunteer. All of you bless Adonai.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Tzur kol haolamim Tzadik b'kol hadorot Ha'el ha'ne'eman Ha'omer be'yosei Handaber u'mkayim Shekol devarav Emet v'tzedek נאמן אתה הוא אדוני אלוהינו ונאמנים דבריך ודבריך עד מדבריך אחור לא ישוב ריקם כי אל מלך Neman v'rachaman ata. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el ha'ne'eman, v'chol davar. Amen. Blessed are you, O Lord our God, ruler of the universe, rock of all ages, righteous throughout all generations. You are the faithful God, promising and then performing, first speaking, then fulfilling. For all your words are true and righteous. Faithful are you, O Lord our God, and faithful are your words, for no word of yours shall remain unfulfilled. You are a faithful and merciful God and King. Blessed are you, O Lord God, who are faithful in fulfilling your words. Have mercy on Zion. It is the fountain of our life, and very soon deliver her who grieves deeply. Blessed are you, O Lord, who makes Zion rejoice with her children.
And her rejoicing children now respond.
Make us joyful, O Lord our God, with the prophet Elijah, your servant, and with the kingdom of the house of David, your anointed. May Elijah come soon and bring joy to our hearts. Allow no stranger to sit on David's throne or inherit his glory. For by your holy name you swore to him that his light would not be quenched forever. Blessed are you, O Lord, the shield of David. Baruch atah Adonai, Magei David.
Directly below you find the response. It's Chaim, a tree of life. And that's what it needs. It needs to be to us and should be for us if we allow it to be in us. And so that is what we now affirm as we respond on pages 96 and 97 with Etz Chaim.
Etz Chaim hi lama kazikim ba ve'tol keya be'ushar derachea darchei noam ve'chol tivoteha shalom. Hashivenu Adonai Elecha ve'nashuva Chadesh Yameinu kekedem. Hashivenu Adonai Elecha ve'nashuva Chadesh Yameinu kekedem. A tree of life it is to those who take hold of it, and happy are those who support it. Its ways are ways of pleasantness, and all its paths are peace. Turn us, Lord, to you, and let us return. Renew our days as of old.
And as we have returned, so we are better prepared now to stand as his priests and continue our response to him as we respond on pages 98 and 99 with Luzuho Lomar. Please rise.
Uvenucho Yomar, Shuva, Adonai Ribavot Alfei Yisrael. When the ark rested, Moses would say, Return, O Lord, to the myriads of Israel's family. Arise, O Lord, to your resting place, you and your mighty ark. Clothe your priests with righteousness. May those who have experienced your faithful love shout for joy. For the sake of your servant David, don't delay the return of your Messiah. Ba'avur David Avdecha, al teshev penei Mashikah. Ki bekach tov natati lachem, torati al ta'azovu. I give you good instruction. Do not forsake my Torah.
Please greet those around you as we greet those who are up front.
It's our granddaughter's. It's on street.
Okay, I heard all those excited Shabbat Shaloms in that school. And now we have a special privilege tonight in hearing God's words to us unwrapped as Dr. Patrice comes to lead us. As we wait in anticipation.
How many pieces of electrical equipment can I have? I have this one, I have this one, he's got that one. Yep, let's see. Once again,
Just make sure they're all rounded.
Hi, good evening, Shabbat Shalom. Someone I know very well would say, huh. Using the word, huh, works for almost everything. People say crazy things to you. You just go like this, huh. All right, let's see. Here we go. Can you, ooh, okay. Here we go with professional PowerPoint using here. We're only 40 years in the past. It's taken us 40 years to catch up with the PowerPoint revolution. So, and next time, I know how big to make the font. All right. Each room is different. Good evening, Shabbat Shalom. Tonight's Torah passage is the escape from Egypt, the release from Egypt, and the beginning of the trip into the wilderness. And the advantage of singing songs here at our synagogue is that we know that song that they sang after they crossed the Sea of Reeds, right? The Sea of Reeds, not the Red Sea, the Sea of Reeds. How do you know that, Patrice? Well, because in Hebrew it's Yam Suf. And here's what Suf means. Reeds, not red. Well, how did that all get goofed up? I don't know. I think for tonight, let's just blame the King James Version. Shall we? We'll just blame the King James people. But it's Sea of Reeds, the Yam Suf. And so after they completed their crossing of the Yam Suf, a big celebration broke out during which Moses and Miriam, and let's assume that Aaron is running around, I don't know, he's also participating. Everyone was participating, singing this wonderful song that we sing from time to time, correct? I will sing to the Lord, for he is, of course, the horse and the rider. You know about half of it because of that song, that little ditty. It's sincerely, when you look up ditty in the dictionary, it has that song, right? It's a great, clappy, happy, sing-along song. The horse and the rider thrown into the sea. And that's one of the big thoughts in this. And so, Many of you know that there's not just a Torah portion for the week, there's also a Haftarah portion. And the Haftarah is a portion of Scripture that somewhere in the distant past, leaders got together and said, well, we like having the Torah portion each week, but we would like to bring in other scriptures too, to buttress and to show people that there's more in the Scripture that, helps us understand and carry out the Torah passage. And so the one that's been picked for this week is the story of Deborah and Barak and Yael. And sometimes you get to a Torah reading and you look at the Haftarah that's been picked and you're going, I don't see any connection whatsoever in these two things that have been jammed together. And then after you do a little study, you might find a phrase that they have in common, or you might find a concept that they have in common. But lucky for us this week, we don't have any problems identifying how the story of Moses and Miriam and Aaron's leadership, leading the people out of Egypt and into the wilderness, how on earth it has anything to do with Devorah and Barak and Yael and their struggles in the book of Judges, because it's amazing how alike they are, and that's what we're going to talk about this week. The Torah passage that comes from Exodus covers the departure of the Jewish people from Egypt's rule after the slaying of the firstborn, after that first Pesach evening. It also reports the subsequent struggles of the people once they start to experience everyday life in the desert. The Haftarah passage, which is Judges 4 and 5, covers Deborah's leadership role as a judge. She normally has her judge's bench. She doesn't have a bench, she has a tree. And she has her tree, which is in the center of the country, in the tribal allotment of Ephraim. The battle in Devorah's case occurs in Lower Galilee during a time of oppression by a king especially named Yavin. He comes from Hatzor. I know when you read it in English it looks like Jabin of Hazer, but it's really Yavin of Hatzor. And especially under the leadership of his general, whose name is Sisera. The enemy that Deborah and Barak are trying to fight with are oppressors, and they are what you might call Canaanite oppressors. The Canaanites had a very understandable sort of a joined rule. They were city-states. Remember back in, I don't know, you might have been freshman or sophomore year of high school, you learned about city-states. Well, the Canaanites had city-states. So they were individual cities, but they would pool all their armies if they came across a common enemy. And therefore, one of the generals would be appointed as the generals for the Canaanites there in the Middle East. So you've got the struggles of the Jewish people leaving Egypt, celebrating their release from slavery and their crossing in a miraculous way of the Sea of Reeds. And you have Devorah, her struggle and the battle that they fought against the Canaanites, and their victory and their wonderful time where she was in leadership over them. These two stories, although they seem different on the surface, really have a lot of themes in common. They have a lot of activities in common, and they have a lot of vocabulary in common. They both are stories about a great victory that was won over Israel's enemies. They both involve joyous songs sung after the victories. And they also point out, unfortunately, at the end of both of them, you also have some text that has to do with disappointment. Disappointment over those who don't quite understand how God is doing this, what he's doing in their midst. Let's take a closer look at the two stories so we can see their similarities. There's some parallel differences too. You can't figure that out, parallel differences, we'll get to that. And let's see how we can get something out of these stories for ourselves today. So, I've told you this before. I love to look in images, Google images. It's like you can entertain me for an hour. Say, look up this person, real or imaginary, and then just go in Google Images, and I'll see what various people have said. This is what they look like. Very entertaining. And so, as you can imagine, because these are both biblical characters, you've got some really strange pictures of these guys. You've got some of them from the Middle Ages. You've got some painted by famous painters. You've got a lot of Sunday school illustrations. But this is one of the pictures of Miriam. She's the older sister of Moses. And those are the words, I will sing unto the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. In the text, I know that in your Bible, where they make headers, the headers are not part of the biblical text. Everybody knows that, right? I have to always check. Sometimes you read it on the page, you're going, oh, okay, God wrote that too. No. So they call this a Song of Moses. Well, yeah, he sings it. But then it says the women all gathered together and they got out their tambourines and they proceeded to sing it. In the text it says, Miriam, the prophet, we'll talk about that in a minute, sister of Aharon, took a tambourine in her hand, and all the women went out after her with her tambourines, dancing, as Miriam sang to them, sing to Adonai, for he is highly exalted. The horse and the rider he threw in the sea. And that's the first two lines that you had at the beginning of 15, where it says Moses and the people sang this song. It doesn't mean those are the only two lines she sang. It's tipping off that she sang the whole thing too, right? Just like in the Psalms, they didn't have Psalm 2 or Psalm 45. They had the first line of the Psalm, and then they knew the rest of the Psalm. Well, it's like that's with this song. First two lines means they sang the whole thing and danced. And then there are some commentators, I know none of you would be this rude, but they go, women are in the desert, what are they doing having their tambourines handy? That seems ridiculous. Well, ironically, your timbrel might have been one of your most treasured possessions if you were a woman. And so it is most likely that you have it right where you know how to get it, hold of it, and put it in your hand when you needed it. And they needed it at this point. Sort of interesting, isn't it? All right. So that's a picture of her. Now I want to see if you can, I don't know if you can see very well, but she's got her arms in the air. She's got her, what they think is a timbrel. And then she's got, guys and girls. Now, notice, why might this picture not be accurate? Let's see what you can see, or if it's just a problem I have.
Too young.
Well, they have the kid there? No, the kid's allowed to sing. It's sort of hard to see. What, her shoes?
They look like nice sandals.
Yeah, it's nothing that she's wearing. That's all a guess.
She's very fair-skinned.
Well, that's yet another, yeah. That's not what I was thinking of being wrong. You can't, maybe you can't see it, but across the river, there's more people. She's singing the song before all the people got over the Yom Soup. I have a problem with this. I think you would have waited until everybody got across, don't you, until you started? It's just me? It's my problem, is it? No, but anyway, when I could see it, I'm going, no, she's not starting the song before they get there. She's waiting until they all get over it. And then we have our other lovely lady. Devorah arose as a mother in Israel is one of the famous lines about her. And then as part of her song, so she and Barak also sing a song. I should note here that the word in Hebrew for shir can mean either a poem or a song. There is no differentiation between those. So, yeah, you could call it a poem, you can call it a song, but everyone, I think, assumes that this was actually sung with a tune rather than just recited. And yet, I don't see a picture of her with a timbrel, although she probably had one, and she may have sung it, and she might have had Barak by her side there, singing along with her, but that's not the nature of picture that you have of Devorah. As a matter of fact, there's only about 1/10 the number of pictures of Devorah as there are of Miriam. So, interesting things from Google Images. Also, there were several pictures I could have chosen of Devorah where she just had her head uncovered and she had brown curly hair about this long. And I'm going, yeah, she wasn't like Little House on the Prairie. This was not, no. I think she would have been older, like this, and she would have had something on her head. If you've ever been to Israel, you will know this is true. If your costume designer has not placed something on the top of people's heads who spend 95% of their lives in the sun, then the costume designer has not done a good job of research. They would have had stuff covering their head because of the sun, not because of a spiritual ideal. Although it could be, but let's just assume that when you're out in the sun, you're wearing something covering your head so that your brain literally does not start boiling like an egg. Just pointing that out. The mighty Kishon swept them away. March on, my soul, be strong, is what she says. So we know the story of the Dead Sea because or the Red Sea, we talk about it every Passover time. What was going on with Devorah and what deliverance did God bring to her and the people of Israel? Well, interesting you should ask. The Canaanites have, like the Egyptians had, superior warfare technology. They had iron chariots. Iron chariots were the top-notch military equipment of the day. The Jewish people don't really get those until sometime into David's kingship. In the scriptures, it says that the Philistines had the technology to create steel, iron and steel. Therefore, they weren't sharing it with the Jewish people. I can't imagine the more things change in the world, the more they stay the same. Would you agree? Yes. Okay. So the Jewish people are looking forward to the tribes, remember the 12 tribes, who are scattered throughout the nation. They are looking at an attack by a superior force led by a very skilled general. And he's going to round up the chariots from the city-states, and they're all going to come and attack the joined forces of the 12 tribes. It's right before, spring is just springing. I don't know the verb there. It's in the spring. It's in the spring. And she talks about the mighty Kishon River. The mighty Kishon River. You can see the mighty Kishon River today when you go to Israel. You won't see it because you'll pass over a little bridge, and probably no one will say that's the Kishon River down there because it's not very much to see. It's probably no wider than the pew you're sitting on. That's the mighty, mighty Kishon. It's about 12 to 15 feet wide in a normal year, except for this year. It says that God sent rain. Remember, in the theology of Canaan, it was rain that caused the whole culture to literally blossom and grow. The culture that the Jews were sent to did not have the Nile. They did not have the Tigris and Euphrates. Here's what they had. They had rain. And without rain, they could not live. Because remember, the other great empires of the world all had these rivers that they based their economy on and all of their lifestyle on. And the Jews in Canaan had rain. And so that was tenuous right to begin with. It's a little scary. So you could talk about the iron chariots, but you know what they have? They have the Lord God of Israel, who's in charge of the rain, and he's in charge of the snows in the mountains north of them. And so way in advance, God had prepared there to be heavy rains and snow melting. And in the spring, the mighty, mighty Kishon, which was 12 feet wide, was a total gushing torrent. And no iron chariots could could get through that mighty torrent. And it says they were washed away in the mighty torrent of the Kishon, which when you cross over it, it looks like a culvert in our day and age. But in the spring and in this particular year, God provided more defense than they needed. And so it's that wonderful intervention of the Lord God of Israel and not Baal. Because remember, who did the Canaanites worship? Baal. And what was Baal the god of? Rain and lightning and storms. Yes, yes. See? So who do you want to pray to? Who will work better? The God of Israel or Baal? Unfortunately, many people chose Baal because rain, lightning, and storms. We don't have a river. We are stuck waiting for rain to come. That's the situation there in Canaan. So it says that the mighty Kishon rose up and defeated the armies of the Canaanites, except for one person. Remember that there's an after story. So the army was defeated except for one extremely important person. The general. The general got away. He did not go down with the ship or down with the iron chariots either. He got away and he ran. He ran. Now you could argue maybe he's running back to tell the king that, oh well, that we didn't make it. It didn't work this time, but maybe he's just running because he's happy he's alive. So take whatever viewpoint of that you want. And he happens upon a woman who is obviously not involved in the war. And she seems to be all by herself, although she's married. And this woman, Yael, the guy, you can imagine what he looks like. Not cool. He's probably not looking good. He's probably looking like a haunted man, like the Fugitive show. Come on in. And she's very kind to him. He says, I need water. I need water. And so she's very nice. She's a very good hostess. What does she give him?
Milk.
Milk, which is a soporific. Do you know what a soporific is? Things that put you to sleep. And so he falls asleep, and what does she do? She is extremely brave. She takes a tent peg. She takes a hammer, and she hammers some sense into him. And she is also lauded. Her bravery is also sung about in the song that Devorah and Barak sing about that particular victory. So in both of the victory songs, there's not only descriptions of God's victory on behalf of his people, and but also specific statement about how great the God of Israel is, and about his mighty arm, how his mighty arm has given them victory. Now, we all know that God does not literally have an arm like a human being, right? So what is it a metaphor of? God's mighty arm.
Ability to save.
His strength and power. His koach in Hebrew. Yes, his strength and his power. So both of these victories showed that God was the supreme God of all of their gods, and that he had the power to save his people to the uttermost. Unfortunately, both readings also sort of conclude with some disappointment. There's some disappointment is registered in Devorah's song specifically, but also right after the song of Moses and Miriam, about what could have been done better. Oh golly, we hate it when our victory celebrations are muddled up with, like facts and, call to account and, a final accounting of, who deserves a pat in the back and who deserves the kick in the pants. In Devorah's case, she named names. She said, whenever one part of our people is attacked, even though we are in different tribes, we're all supposed to gather together. All the tribes are going to gather together, and we're to go out in defense of the tribe that's being attacked, or the tribes, or the area that's being attacked. So that's our prime objective. That was part of our final marching orders. And she names the tribes who came, and she thanks them very much. And then she names the tribes who didn't come by tribes. And she basically says, what were you doing? This is when you needed to show up for each other. These showed up. And believe it or not, people who weren't even living near the war-torn area showed up. But you people right on the boundary of the war-torn area didn't come. What is wrong? This is what part of what we're here for. We're to be here to fight on behalf of each other. We're here to defend the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So there's that set of disappointments for Devorah. But once again, we're in the book of Judges, and the primary statement of the book of Judges, you all know it by heart, and it's what? This was the time of the judges, and everyone did what was right
In their own eyes.
in their own eyes. Not in God's eyes, but in their own eyes. So this is yet another example of how this carried forth in their lives. Well, what about Moses and Miriam? That was really nice, and so everything went well with that trip right after that. It was great, wasn't it? Really. One of the greatest miracles in the history of, human beings, you would say. Except for how many days later were they complaining? 3 days. Took them 3 days. So they're into the wilderness. Remember, you had the explanation at the beginning of this reading that, no, don't go around on the beaches of the Mediterranean. That's the quickest way to get to where you want to be going, to Abraham's land. That would be, probably 3/4 of a day you can be there. But God said, don't go that way. Don't go that way. Why not? Well, that's where the Philistines had their cities, their fortress cities, their cities. They also ran by city-states, so they had their city-states. And if these people who had just yesterday been slaves, and they start, yay, we're leaving, and within half a day they see fortresses of armies and cities they don't know anything about, so they're not going to be friendly. And if they know Pharaoh's probably gotten word through runners to those cities that are all fortified. So they'll be gunning for us too. I have to mix metaphors there. They'll be after us too. They'll be after us too. Go the other way, God said. Go to the south. Don't go to the northeast. Go to the southeast. And that's the way they went. Into the wilderness. The wilderness means the desert. Less than 5 inches of rain a year in the desert, by definition. And within 3 days, we don't have any water. There's no water. Who's going to get us water? What are we going to do out here? There's no water. Well, there's water over there. Yeah, but it's bitter. It's bitter water. We can't drink bitter water. Didn't God think of this? By the way, where's Moses? Why isn't he here in the front getting us water? The only reason I can sound to you that what seems accurate is John and I have led tours in Israel. And so we've heard things like this from actual people that we know. They'd be up front going, why isn't John up here doing this? Why isn't, where is everybody? Why can't we do this? And what's this over here? And so we have heard the cries of our people in our own little way. And people didn't, they didn't get any smarter, and they didn't get any more trusting. No, they were not more trusting than they used to be. Similarities between the two stories. Both battles mention 3 major leaders. Both battles show God himself actively winning the battle. It's God himself who comes to their rescue. They're both stuck. Both the tribes, when they're in Canaan, and the Jewish people as they leave Egypt, they're both stuck. Humanly speaking, they have no chance. It's not going to work. They don't have the means. They don't have the equipment. They don't have anything except for they have God. And so both battles show that with or without the help of people, God won those battles. And it's very clear. It's clear in the text and it's clear in the songs. Both sets of leaders sing a song about the arm of the Lord. He intervened at just the right time, not too quickly and not too late. He always arrives right on time. Just like I always say, Shabbat always arrives right on time. It's not going to be late. It's not going to get stuck in traffic. God did not get stuck in traffic. He didn't lose Wi-Fi. He was able to accomplish perfectly in time for the victory in both cases. And as I said before, both songs somewhat end in disappointment. Some people failed to act. That's those tribes that didn't show up. Some people fail to thank God. That's a problem in general. It's also a problem in the New Testament too, isn't it? People receive a great victory or a great miracle, and they just don't pony up some thank you, God. I don't know why not. You can answer that for yourself. I'm just saying, thank you, God, over and over and over, will be very, very welcome. Not because God needs it, he does not need anything from us, but because it does us good to do it. And some fail to trust the same God who caused the Egyptian army to be drowned in the Sea of Reeds at the last moment. 3 days later, these people can't trust him to show them where water is. Now, you're lovely people, and I know you would never do this, but there are some people, they read these stories. I'm especially thinking about the wilderness, the trips in the wilderness and in the desert, and they point their finger and they go, those people, they should know better. We say from our, we're warm and dry, and we have a lot of water, maybe too much water sometimes. Well, they need to trust God more. They should know better. Why don't they look it up in their Bibles? They should read some more Bible verses because they just don't have the plan. They got to have more faith. It was just 3 days ago. He did something earth-shatteringly unbelievable. And now, today, we have a problem that is seemingly unsurmountable, and we're blaming the leadership for that. And what do I always say to those people, not you, who are pointing their finger and go, they should have known better? Take the finger, and what should you do with that finger? That's pointing at them, and now you should point it at you, because we're not better. We're not better. As I said about leading trips in Israel, and observing other people leading things, in general, we don't do better. It'd be nice to say, sure, we read the New Testament. We understand grace. We got it all together. We understand how we apply grace in our situation. We're very thankful. We have no problems in our life. We have no problems with not believing God. So we're good, and they evidently missed out. That's not the message of the Tanakh. The message of the Tanakh is, this is you. This is you. Unfortunately, this is me. This is us. We seem to not learn. I wish we did, and maybe every now and then we do, but then we go right back. So, if I read this, it reminds me I have to be careful. It reminds me I have to remember. It reminds me that I have to express gratitude both to God and to other people. It reminds me that I need to trust more. There are several twists. In other words, they're parallel but not quite parallel. In Exodus, you have 3 leaders. There are 2 men and 1 woman, so that'd be Moses, Aaron, and then Miriam. And in Judges, the key characters are, this time it's 2 women and 1 man. It's very nice, all very democratically oriented. So you've got Deborah and Yael, remember? And Barak is the guy. Both enemy armies used chariots, and in Exodus they're drowned in the Sea of Reeds, which actually is not like a river or not like a sea. It would have been more like when it wasn't springtime. Remember, it's springtime when they're crossing the Sea of Reeds. Yeah, yes, right? When is Passover?
Spring.
The springtime, okay. And so are those places that would be muddy and full of water, would that be right then in the spring? Yes, it would be. And so the Sea of Reeds is more like a giant marshland, except here comes a big like gullies in the western United States, gullies that, the water rushes through, the gulches, the dry gulches. And the Kishon River, which you would think of as I said, like if your bus drives over, it's just north of Tel Aviv nowadays, and it would look like they went over a culvert, not a bridge, but a culvert. So they were drowned in the mighty Kishon. In Exodus, the people asked for water from the Lord, and in Judges, the enemy general asked for water from Yael. It's interesting. These two stories are all about water. There's either too much water or you need water. It's interesting, isn't it? They both have that overlying idea of water is sort of like fire, right? There's good news and bad news about water. There's good news and bad news about fire, too. Incredibly helpful, incredibly important, except if you have too much. Fire, incredibly important, incredibly helpful, unless you have too much of it and you can't control it. So that's part of both these stories. And then you have these interesting people. We still have questions about them, the Kenites. If they sound vaguely familiar, you'll remember that Moses' wife, Zipporah, Ladybird, remember? Zipporah, a tzipor is a bird in Hebrew. Zipporah, her father was named Jethro, because, Beverly Hillbillies. Okay, Jethro. But Yitro, he was a Kenite. And so you have that overlaid with Moses, that he's married into a Kenite group. And then Yael's husband, he's called Hever the Kenite. That's his name, Hever, friend, the Kenite. So you have this, oh look, there's vocabulary that's similar in both of these stories too. So these two stories were sort of meant to smash together, Remember the old commercial, Certs is a candy man, Certs is a breath man, and they would fight, and then what would happen? It's both. It's two mints in one. Sort of like these stories. Two stories having a lot of the same outcome and a lot of the same lessons for us. And heroes to emulate and bad guys to say, yeah, don't be like them, but really the worst bad guys come from among ourselves. So what should we remember to apply to our lives today? So I can take these two stories and appreciate them from a literary point of view, but what do I take away? As my friend Bob Ruth used to always say it, every Bible study I think I ever went to with Bob Ruth, somewhere during the Bible study he'd say, so I get up tomorrow morning, I brush my teeth, and I do what? So that's the final. How does it work for me? How do I understand this and appropriate into my lives? And therefore, how should I behave differently tomorrow after brushing my teeth? These are more or less questions to ask ourselves. When I see that God works miracles for us, or for me, but usually it's in us, do I quickly turn around and doubt that He is able to take care of me after I've seen miracles around me, after I've seen miracles around us, whether the us is our family or the us is this congregation? What do I do? When I see every week, we hear people talking about answer to prayer, and God worked in people's lives, God healed people, Do I go home the next day and wonder if he's going to continue or he's just going to poop out now? He gave up last night after that last person shared. Or do I quickly turn around, I brush my teeth, and I continue to believe that God is going to do miracles? He's going to continue to cure people. He's going to continue, maybe miracle is too strong a word, to help things work out. I don't know if you've ever considered, I sometimes don't, that when things just work out, that's a minor miracle in some of my lives. That it happened and it got done. Thank you, God. That's a minor miracle. It wasn't like, woo. It wasn't like that. I just took one step in front of another, and things seemed to go okay. Number 2, when God calls me to go and fight a battle for him, am I too busy? Or am I really too afraid? What about people who need me? Sometimes you have a feeling you're called to like stick up for somebody or something, but you don't. And then you don't even think about why you're hesitating. Is that a good position to be in? I don't think so. But here's what I know. I think we're going to have to be braver in the very near future than we've ever been before. Just an inkling. I don't have any prophecy on that specifically. I just have an inkling. When God calls me, not because of my mind, but I know that God has laid something on my heart that I know I should do. Am I too afraid to show up, or I just don't bother to show up? Is that something I need to be asking myself? I don't think we're going to have this luxury in the very near future. And number 3, do I rely on human weapons when fighting for the Lord? By weapons, I don't mean guns, knives, spears, javelins, any of those things. Human weapons can also be your sense of humor, your wit, your quick thinking, your problem-solving abilities. These are all qualities that people have that can be used in, let's call them confrontations. Those are all good. If you have any of those qualities, I want to be on your team, boy, because we could use some fast thinkers sometimes, can't we? You know, you're in a situation, boy, I wish I had thought of that answer, you know, when I was there, but oops, I thought about it 3 hours later, driving home in my car. Too late now, kind of thing. But do we only rely on human weapons? Our wits, our smarts, our experience, they're good, they're very good. Or do I really realize that without God's power, I can't do anything? Without God's power, those chariots will withstand hurricanes, except not the battles they were put in. That's what they couldn't withstand. And who planned for those the situations so that the power of the chariots and of the military force was totally cut from underneath them? It was God's power. It was God's mighty arm. And they could have had the smartest guys and the most genius guys, the greatest battle plan. And the battle plans are not for the Sea of Reeds, but the battle plans for the mighty Kishon, that was outlined. You'll put it on a map, my students that are in historical geography. You'll plot that battle. You'll see what happened and where they were. Without God, we can't win. Well, is God going to show up for us? I'm going to refer you right back to number 1. We've seen him do it, haven't we? Yes, yes. We've seen him do it. We have a pretty good group here. We have a pretty nice building here. Not perfect. Not the best congregation in the whole entire world, although, you know, it has moments. We have moments. But we need to know God can use us God can make things work out. A minor miracle is when things work out. But he can also make great miracles, as we tend to see pretty much every week. Somebody says, it's unbelievable, I can't believe that worked out. Like an unbelievable situation. It wasn't just, I was in the right place at the right time. So, on behalf of my friend Bob Croup, when we get up tomorrow morning, we brush our teeth, and then we do what I recommend. Remembering that God does miracles and also causes things to work out every day. If he calls me to do a battle, or even a little skirmish, I don't like skirmishes. I like to get along with people, generally. I don't like to go up against impersonal things that, just want to, don't have my best interest at heart, so I have to fight back. Okay, God, can you show me how and when to fight back? And give me the courage to do it. If I really need to step off. And keep teaching me, I can't do it without you. We can't do it without you. We have to have you. We can have our wits, our smarts, our good opportunities, just enough money to grease the wheels. But if we don't have the Lord, why bother? Oh, I just had that doubt. Let's go back to the first thing again. We see miracles every week. Fair enough? These are great stories. You should read them over the weekend. Something that was impossible, that God created victory out of. Oops. These are not just stories. If they are, they're pretty good, but they're not just stories. They show us how the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob works. Look right. Avinu Malkeinu, our Father and our King. We thank you and praise you that you are kind to us, you're good to us, you show us justice and mercy. You teach us your ways so that we can act wisely in this world, so that we can learn things we need to know. I pray that you would be with us in the coming week or two, that you would show us, even when we're least expecting it, us how you are working on our behalf. Give us courage in the right amount. Give us a sense of well-being and a sense of encouragement to go and fight any battles that you have planned for us. Father, we know we have to depend on you. Help us to be good ambassadors on your behalf. B'Shem Yeshua Meshachinu, in the name of Yeshua, our Messiah.
As God has worked in the past, so he will be working in our present, right on through to the future, which we anticipate now as we rise and respond with the Elena, pages 102 to 107. It's looking forward to a time when, as God has worked in his world, in the past and in the present, he will do so in a very special way in the future, when the world will in fact be perfected under the rule of the Lord Almighty. And we prepare ourselves for that, as well as take on our responsibility as we respond to pages 102 to 107.
Aleinu l'shabeach la'Adonai kol, la'atet gelulah liyotzer bereshit, שלא עשינו כבני הארצות, ולא שמענו כנשכות האדמה, שלא סמכתנו כהם, ולא עלינו ככל העולם, ואנחנו משתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוצא לארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגבי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד. אמת מלכנו ופסולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום מה השבותה. אל לבביך כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל והארץ מתחת אין עוד. It is incumbent upon us to praise the Master of all, to exalt the Creator of the world, for he has made us distinct from the nations and unique among the families of the earth. Our destiny is not like theirs, our calling is our task. We bow down and acknowledge before the King of Kings that there is none like him, for he stretched forth the heavens like a tent and established the earth. Truly there is none like our Lord and King. As the Torah says, you shall know this day and reflect in your heart that it is the Lord who is God in the heavens above and on the earth beneath. There is none else. We hope, O Lord our God, to soon behold your majestic glory, when all abominations shall be removed and all false gods shall be at an end. Then shall the world be perfected under the rule of the Lord Almighty, and all mankind shall call upon your name. For to you every knee must bow, and every tongue declare that you are God. Reign over us soon and forever. May the kingdom of David's greater Son be established forever. For then shall the words be fulfilled. The Lord shall be king forever, and the Lord shall be king over all the earth. On that day the Lord shall be one, and his name one. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shamo
You may not be seated. Oh, I'm glad you listened carefully. Please do remain standing. As we're about to close the service, let me just remind you, if you weren't here for the announcements at the beginning, they're all there for you in the inserts. Please read them carefully and respond accordingly. Fair enough? If you look around and you see people that are somewhat unfamiliar to you, by all means greet them and welcome them. And then we'll continue that welcome and that greeting down the hall in the Oneg room. Now Richard comes to lead us in receiving or accepting, in fact, the blessings that God has promised to extend to us.
Our God and God of our fathers, bless us with the threefold blessing. Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avotenu, barachenu b'baracha hamashulashem. Yivarecha Adonai v'yishmarecha. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichunecha. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May the Lord bless you and watch over you. May the Lord cause the light of his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord turn his face toward you with favor, and may he grant you peace. Shabbat shalom.